I really like people learning about guns. It is one of my favorite things to watch people learn about guns. And so, if someone's going to make a video about it, I'm going to be curious.
I made this viral video on the Second Amendment, but the truth is, I've always been terrified of
The grammar is a train wreck. The grammar was very old school.
guns. Not just because they're powerful and deadly, but because of everything I've seen about them. Non-stop headlines, school shootings, this whole idea that gun owners are totally reckless extremists. For years,
The media definitely paints guns in a really bad light. This is true.
I bought into that fear. Add to that the paperwork and red tape that I hate, and I always figured...
For the record, the people who like guns also hate the paperwork and the red tape. So it's good to have some common ground with people you disagree with.
guns just weren't for me. But the Second Amendment was meant specifically for people like me. Not for armies, but for citizens who want to protect themselves.
True and real.
I've lived in a blue state. I've lived in Spain, maybe the most restrictive European country for guns. Now I live in a red state, but ultimately I want to buy an RV and travel the country. That means being alone in some dark woods and sketchy Walmart parking lot. So I set out to exercise my Second Amendment right and buy a gun.
Nice.
First, basic research. I printed some stuff and learned that Missouri and Illinois, just a 30-minute drive east, are both shall issue states.
Oh.
That means if you meet all the requirements for purchasing
video?
a gun, and we'll get to those,
8 days.
you can't be denied one. Contrast this with may issue states. Historically, may issue states have been able to deny legal gun ownership.
Wait, hold on. I swear the Supreme Court has ruled may issue unconstitutional, right? That happened. I'm pretty sure.
Based on a judge's determination of whether you have a good cause to carry a firearm. You can watch 8 facts about the Second Amendment for a deeper dive. And to learn how not to be an NPC about guns, click the link below or scan the QR code for an 8-part email course on the history of the Second Amendment.
An 8-part email course.
I live in Missouri, so I started here. Does Missouri require a background check to buy a firearm? No. However, look at how the federal government...
Yeah, I was about to say, it's not a state-specific background check. You still have to do the federal background check.
Government tried to circumvent the Second Amendment and the state of Missouri. So if you want to be federally licensed, yeah. Now, I've seen ads for gun shows, but I'm here to go through the full process. And besides, the places closest to where I live, like...
Okay, hold. Gun shows? If you go to a gun show and you buy from a gun show vendor, some business that is vending at a gun show, you still have to do the federal background check, the 4473 paperwork, all that. Now, if you buy from some random Joe Schmo who's also attending the gun show, then that's a private citizen, and you don't have to do that. But the vast majority of gun show purchases, you still have to do that background check.
This Bass Pro Shop and this small gun and ammo dealer are
go to that one instead.
FFLs anyway. I settled on the small independent shop, figuring I'd make more of a personal connection. Walking into Full Circle Ammunitions and Reloading, let's see what I find out. It's actually called Full Circle Reloading and Firearms. I'd driven past it 100 times, but never been in there, nor any gun shop for that matter. So I'm a total rookie. I know nothing about guns. What do you recommend to someone like me who walks in here?
The purpose of the purchase is going to derive...
Okay, hold on. Pet peeve here. And this is just nitpicking. I hate that the video is switching between landscape and vertical video. This is bothering me a lot. There's just all this dead space on the side for the vertical part.
I have all of the answers after the fact.
Alan was incredibly helpful. It turns out they have a YouTube channel of their own, so they could relate to someone making a video.
So what are you trying to do with it?
Just basic self-defense.
You wanting to carry it on your body, or is this going to stay at home?
Carry on body. He showed me how a firearm might be visible or not, aka it might print on my waist, depending on how
No holster. Just throw it in the belt. Wow. I mean, if you're looking for the least print possible, the holster does add a little bit in there. So, waifu references. Thanks to Gotcha and UCount, I can BS with gun store folks now. Nice, let's go. Let's go. You always gotta seem competent to the gun store guys. Otherwise, some of them are bad and will take advantage of you.
I carry it. He taught me that small guns are actually harder to shoot than bigger ones.
True.
And above all, he instilled this.
Safety first. Right? You need to understand the responsibility that you are taking on as an individual who is about to become a gun owner. You have to understand that there's responsibility to that. This isn't a game, they're not toys. Right? You have to understand that once you start, especially if you start concealed carrying in public, you are openly accepting the responsibility of having that firearm in the public.
Citing this, what would you say to someone who feels intimidated?
The problem with our industry is that everybody's willing to give you the advice that you're asking them about. Everybody. You talk to you, if we have 15 customers in here and you ask all of them for advice, all of them are going to give it to you. About 15% of that advice is going to be actual good advice. The best advice I can give you is go somewhere like Ultimate Defense off of Highway 79. They have a rental wall. As long as you buy their ammo, they will let you shoot whatever pistol you want.
I'm so glad I started.
Yo, is that
there.
a menu? Man, I don't think I've ever gone anywhere where they have a rental menu. There's the stuff on the wall and some stuff like in a cabinet and you like point at what you want. A menu? It's a high class place.
And if you have a friend who's also struggling with this decision or thinking about buying a gun, share this video with them. It will help reduce that intimidation factor. So Alan had earned my trust, and I took his advice. I was off to Ultimate Defense to try some different guns. I walked into the range, again, first time ever, and I said to the guy at the desk, I just want to practice and get comfortable firing a gun. He directed me to an iPad where I filled out a waiver and completed a quick safety course. It was one of those where you could just skip to the end and pass the quiz without even watching if you wanted. But again, this is something I take seriously, and this course was actually
you should take it seriously.
valuable.
There are 10 commandments to firearm safety. And
10?
The first 4
10? Goodness, the first time I learned the rules of gun safety, there were 3. And now there's 4. 10? That's too many.
Never point at anything you don't intend to shoot. Always keep your finger off the trigger until ready to shoot. Keep the firearm unloaded until ready to use it. Every gun is always loaded. Then I saw the rental wall that
Keep your gun unloaded until you're ready to use it? No. That is not one of the basic rules of gun safety. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to use it. You don't need to keep it unloaded until you're ready to use it. Then you're carrying an empty gun. Mao only learned about 10 rules of gun safety. That was because it was a hunting license course. Is the 10 rules of gun safety a hunting thing? I'm not a big hunter, so I don't know the hunting rules.
Alan told me about, and I asked the employee, which do you recommend for a beginner? He gave me an unloaded handgun in a case with an orange safety flag inside, the magazine and the barrel separate,
the PX4,
and made
that's
me
pretty
put
decent.
on ears and eyes, earmuffs and goggles. Very safe so far. And I'm following his instructions for loading the gun, and I'm trying to keep my 4 tips in mind, especially finger off the trigger until ready to shoot.
That chamber flag was chewed up, goodness sakes. I think first gun, the PX4 is not a terrible choice. I would have given him the full size though, not the compact one.
Now it's loaded. It's in my hand, pointing at my target. I have to tell you, it hit me very suddenly and very hard how serious this was.
Was that not a PX4? Hold on.
But then,
that looked different from
it was
that
fun
angle.
to fire those first couple of shots. It's hard, really hard to hit that target. Can you imagine what it would be like if it were moving, like in a real life situation? As I got some practice, I start to appreciate the smell of the range. It's this weird mixture of oil and like burnt rubber. And when I pick up the empty bullet casings that fell on my table,
he's got more than one gun.
They were still hot to the touch. Eventually, I worked up the confidence to swap out my borrowed gun for something else. I chose the Walther PPK,
there it is.
James Bond's gun.
It is. That's the gun that caught me off guard. That was the one that was like, well, that doesn't look like a PX4. Is the PPK.
But I'm more accurate with this one, and before I know it, my hour is up, and I've spent like $50 on ammo. But when I'm returning my PPK
Ammo
and
be like
settling
that.
up the bill, I ask, so I can just buy a gun here and after a quick background check, get one, right? But I learned that buying one isn't as simple as I thought. In Missouri, you do not need a permit to buy a gun. But there's a huge but. Say you forgot you had your gun and you walk into a grocery store or somewhere guns are prohibited. Someone sees it and calls the cops, or say you...
Guns are prohibited in grocery stores in Missouri? That's where I usually open carry. Man, I didn't know there was so much misery in Missouri.
Drive through certain kinds of speed traps and get pulled over with your gun in the car. I learned that there's a huge difference in what will happen to you depending on whether you have a concealed carry permit or not. If you do, the cop will tell you, hey, you can't have a gun in this area, and say, get out of here. Don't let it happen again. But without the concealed carry permit, they're putting you in handcuffs.
Yeah, if you live somewhere without constitutional carry, somewhere that requires a license to carry, obviously you need the license to carry. You usually don't need the license to, own and transport, but yes, if you need a license to carry, you should get one.
Guy at the range told me. I live in a suburb of St. Louis, which is one of the most dangerous cities in the country. I go into the city often. Doesn't the need for a permit violate not only the Second Amendment, but more importantly, the natural right to protect myself that the Second Amendment implies?
True and valid?
Because, a gun that you have to leave at home isn't really a gun. That defeats the whole purpose. But let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think about concealed carry laws? Should the government get to decide not just whether you can carry, but where? Regardless, I'm scared enough to decide.
Spoiler alert. No, they shouldn't be able to decide that.
I'm not just gonna buy a gun. I'm getting a concealed carry permit first. And as I found out, that would mean walking into concealed carry training on this beautiful Saturday morning.
Nice.
Much to my chagrin, the concealed carry permit required an 8-hour training course, including classroom time that would cover safety and legal training, among other things, then a live fire.
I will say, at least when I got my carry license, there was a classroom portion that did have some good information. The legal things and all that fun stuff that you don't really learn just through absorption passively. There are good things that you learn in one of these carry classes. It is boring though.
Fire session at a range with a certified instructor. If I completed that, I'd get a certificate that I could take to my local sheriff's office. The course I signed up for cost $80 with a company called Concealed Coalition, and it was at a hotel
was
nearby.
that Mr. Beast?
Honestly, it was a bit of a sales pitch. Concealed Coalition also sells memberships that include firearm insurance and paid attorneys should you ever need to actually use your gun. But I did learn some valuable things, such as the difference between prohibited, a term that has legal standing, and unauthorized, which doesn't. The safe passage doctrine allows you to transport firearms across state lines as long as you're legally allowed to possess them at your origin and your destination.
The safe passage does exist legally, but it's not something I would test because people do get arrested for that, and the safe passage doctrine does not protect them. Because if you stop at a gas station or you stop at a fast food restaurant or something like that, they will say that you weren't just going through and you made a stop, and so you are not protected anymore. So does the safe passage doctrine exist? Yes. Does it actually protect anyone? Debatable. Probably not.
And I learned who's eligible to concealed carry in Missouri. And of course, it never hurts to go over those 4 commandments again. The instructor also led us through a conversation about some controversial shootings, the Trayvon Martin case in Florida and the Michael Brown shooting in Ferguson, just a 20-minute drive from where we were. The live fire session was the fun part. That came in the afternoon. Walking into Gateway Gun Club for my test, I need to hit the silhouette 15 out of 20 shots. I think
easy.
I can do it.
Easy.
That's at 7 yards or 21 feet. That distance comes from the Tuller drill, which is standard operating procedure for training. Even though our trainer Dennis was pretty thorough, I was nervous. I had learned at my last range visit how hard it is to be accurate. I put my safety glasses on, and this video might not show all
Being
15
accurate with
hits,
handguns
but
is
I did it.
difficult.
I took a quick
It is a
selfie with
high
Dennis.
difficulty
He
thing.
signed my certificate.
Hi,
and
Dennis.
I was one step closer to the finish line. Now, all these steps ensure that only the most motivated people and those who are educated enough to do all this research and wealthy enough to afford this class, plus the $100 permit application fee, which we'll get to in a second, end up with the guns. As we cover in our email course, How Not to Be an NPC about the Second Amendment, it was so poorly written that the Founding Fathers left it open to interpretation. It should have been written more like the First Amendment, shall make no law respecting.
That would have been nice.
Anyway, I now had 2 range sessions under my belt. I knew a lot more than when I started, and a quick Google search showed me where I needed to go and what I needed. My signed concealed carry training certificate, $100, and my driver's license. I'm driving to the St. Charles County Sheriff's Office to apply for my concealed carry permit. One of the things I'll have to...
Ferocious. It says shall not be infringed. It means a whole lot more than just no laws. And yet, here we are, and there are a lot of laws infringing on the Second Amendment. I mean, we can say correctly that it is clear. However, clearly it was not clear enough since it is not being followed. So saying that there should have been different wording, or that the wording should have been changed a little bit, the wording that's there obviously isn't working. So maybe trying something else wouldn't be terrible. Fake Nicks. To be fair to the Founding Fathers, they didn't realize people would become retarded. I mean, there probably were retarded people back then. They just couldn't vote because you needed to own property and stuff to be able to vote.
do there is get fingerprinted. $100 bill, driver's license, concealed carry class certificate. About to turn them into the sheriff's department. Let's see how it goes. And after
This
trying
guy
the
walking
wrong
around in
door,
St.
I
Louis
walked in,
flexing a
went to the
hundo.
window and handed over my stuff. I got fingerprinted after a short wait, but then...
Okay, you said 15 to 45 days and I'll get a phone call?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
To me, it seemed
45
like this
days?
process was too drawn out. I mean, it doesn't seem like everyone can afford $100 and a 15 to 45 day wait, does it? Now, luckily, as it turned out, I got this voicemail after just 7 days.
Hi, this is Courtney with St. Charles County Police Department letting you know
Hi, Courtney.
your concealed carry permit is ready to be picked up.
So I went back, showed my driver's license.
You have to go pick it up? They don't even mail it to you? Bro, what was the $100 for? $100 and they can't even put a stamp on an envelope? At least my carry license got mailed to me.
And bam. In the meantime, I had made up my mind. I had been the most accurate with the Walther PPK, and because I'm a Bond fan, it's the make and model that would most excite me to actually train with. So I went back
that
there
makes sense.
and asked them to
Buying a
order
gun
me
that
a
you wanna
Walther
train with.
PPK. The Walther PPK has an interesting history, by the way.
The Walther PPK is not, it's not the most ideal, most modern gun, but as a first gun, if it's a gun you think is cool and it's a gun that you want to shoot, go for it. There's a lot of people who buy first guns purely on recommendation that they don't have any care to shoot, and then they don't shoot them and don't train. So buying a slightly obsolete gun that you like and you will train with is better than buying a perfectly ideal gun that you don't care to train with.
Specifically after the Gun Control Act of 1968 banned the importation of pistols that didn't meet certain requirements of length and weight. Well, Walther Arms literally just added an ounce or two of weight to its standard PPK. That's how you got today's PPK/S. Oh, and since the Gun Control Act banned the importation of pistols, about 15 years later, Walther simply set up shop here in the US. I showed off my new concealed carry permit. No joke, one of their employees said, "Man, this is the most..."
Mao didn't say 9 Kurs. It said 9mm Kurs as well. Walther PPKs will say 9mm Kurs/380 ACP. Ferocious. U-22 Neos was a mistake? I love my U-22. Don't you be trashed on the U-22. Just because the gun was a commercial failure doesn't mean it was a bad gun.
most comfortable I've seen you in here. He was right, even though I was still nervous. This was a major investment, not just of time and energy, but...
So 1,000 even?
1,000 plus tax.
Okay.
So it'll probably be 1,080.
And I can pay by credit card?
Sure can.
All right.
Finally, after all of this, we got to the
That's a lot
point
of money.
we should have always been at. A simple transaction between a buyer and a seller at a store. My
Almost.
firearm
Still gotta
was
do your
on
background
back
check.
order, and they said it would arrive in a couple of days. This time, a wait I wasn't legally obligated to endure, but one I chose to because I wanted a certain gun. All right, I did it. Here's my receipt for the Walther PPK. Thanks to the good folks at Full Circle. They really earned my trust
Yay.
and my respect.
Yay,
And,
Full Circle.
Here's the proof. It's done. Sure enough, a few days later,
Hey, Trevor, this is Full Circle Reloading. Just letting you know we got your Walther pistol in, so it's here when you're ready. Thank you.
but the truth is, I wasn't ready. I'm serious. I was so anti-gun for so long. I've made videos where I admitted to being a Bernie bro. Once upon a time, I voted for him. And gun regulation
Oh, no.
was a big part of my political
Man, this guy's
identity.
gone through quite a journey.
So it actually helped that they were closed on Sundays and then closed on Labor Day. That gave me more time to prepare mentally. And the next day, well, these are my last few minutes as a non-gun owner. I'm about to go pick it up, and it only seemed
Time to
fitting that I
start
would
being
wear
cool.
my
Let's
Students for
go.
Liberty shirt to commemorate the occasion. Here I go. I hopped on my bike on that beautiful Tuesday afternoon, and you know, it's actually kind of funny. There's a grocery store right on the way, and I needed a few things, so I made sure to stop there first so that I wouldn't have my firearm yet. Then I walked into the gun shop. Hey there.
If you don't have a holster and stuff, that's probably a good idea.
Walther PPK that I ordered. But the gun shop still had to fill out a long, complicated form for the Bureau
Yeah.
of Alcohol,
You gotta do the
Tobacco, Firearms, and
4473.
Explosives, called the Firearms Transaction Record. This would prove that the gun was no longer on their books, although they said it wouldn't be registered to me either. But I did have to fill out my address.
Yeah, it's not quote-unquote registered to you, but whenever the ATF feels like it, they can go get this piece of paper and see that it was sold to you. It's an unofficial registry.
My race, citizenship status, whether I had ever been convicted of a crime. And so I took my gun home. It's right here in this sleek, cool looking box. I'm no longer afraid. I mean, I now realize that contrary to popular belief, gun manufacturers care a ton about safety. After all,
True.
they have a lot to lose if their product is unsafe.
Yeah. If you lose customer base because your product is unsafe, it's not a good business model.
And I went through this entire process. And then I even sat down and read the instruction manual, which is chock
people
full
read
of
those?
all caps warnings and constant reminders that the responsibility is mine and mine alone to be safe. And that's a responsibility I accept.
Okay. Okay, chat. And just because there are some guns that have some safety issues doesn't mean that the vast majority of guns and gun companies aren't safe. The P320, the Taurus, was it 24/7 or something? And a few others, they're outliers.
Very seriously. We designed an entire course about taking responsibility for your own actions, not just around firearms.
Yo, personal responsibility? That's not a value of someone on the left. I can see why this guy has made such a journey, because he believes in personal responsibility.
But around life itself. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description to sign up for that. Or if you're just here for the guns, try our 8-part email course on the history of the Second Amendment. Same thing. QR code here, link below.
I'm a bit curious. The music's loud. I'm a bit curious as to what it says in their 8-part email course. Problem is, I don't want 8 emails. That was a cool video. Got to see someone's first gun buying journey and how, no, it's not actually as easy as a lot of people claim that it is.